Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stories That Transforms Career. And for last couple of months, there are different kind of. For me, it was not that much really healthy or really good context I went into, and this is again related to career only. What exactly the context I'm talking about? While discussing with handful of graduates, what I came across, they are suffering from different level of depression. Reason, they did BTech, failed to grab any job. They have done MTech or master degree, no luck. Maybe for last 2 year, 3 year, they are suffering, and suffering for what? Due to social pressure, the whole purpose they fail to grab any job. Now, what is the reason we will discuss, but what is the outcome? Their parents invested lakhs of rupees, and after that, also, what is the outcome? So, the whole story, what exactly, which way we can help as a senior to those graduates who are suffering related to career or maybe while transitioning towards career. For that, we have today special guest Archana. So welcome Archana to the talk. So and ultimately we are going to know a little bit deep about how you can help or professionally you can just give some guidance to those graduates. So before coming to those points, can you please just brief a little bit more about you, what exactly you are doing? And mainly, I'm keen, means my keen interest definitely the psychologist or those things, but you are founder of Imprint Training Center. So, what is about this? So, brief about you.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much, Upendra, for inviting me to your platform. I've seen some of your older videos and I found them very interesting. So I know how interesting it would have been to those who are graduates and struggling with their issues at that age. So let me quickly introduce myself. So I'm Archana Shaktawat, a clinical psychologist. I'm also a counseling psychologist. I've recently authored a book and I'm also the founder of Imprint Training Center. The reason why I actually wanted to speak about this a little more, and you also want to know a little about it, because I work on not just helping people and individuals and students with their outer personality, which is the way they talk, walk, and act, but also their inner personality, the way they think, feel, and behave. So, generally when we talk to young graduates or just pass outs, we're constantly telling them that, you got to work on your body language like this, or you got to talk in such a fashion, or work on public speaking. But what we actually forget is it's not always your outer personality, because it's very simple that, if from within you're not happy, if internally you don't think good about yourself, for how long are you going to put on that face? And that's exactly what I help students, and not just students, individuals, business professionals, and even people, who are struggling it at any stage in their life. So through my training center, I've been very fortunate. I've trained close to about 10,000 plus students. I'm currently associated with 50 plus higher educational institutions, be it B schools, engineering students. I interact with them quite a lot. Associated with 45 plus corporates and companies, and I've counseled, mentored, coached hundreds of individuals struggling through a difficult phase in their life as a psychologist. So, yeah, that's been my journey, short, sweet, and simple. Been
So,
in the profession for 7 years, 10 plus years in the field of training, and 6 plus years in the field of psychology. So, yeah, that's a little about my training center.
wow. So, definitely, Archana, we will just go a little bit deep into this, how the graduates basically get benefited or what advice you'd like to give. But the main question or what I found while interacting with those graduates or a little bit seniors, maybe after graduate, they are struggling to get into job, 3 year, 4 year, even 5 year, they are struggling. Now, what was your situation while doing graduation and getting into very first job or very first the paycheck? What was the main challenges you
Correct.
faced and how you overcome with those? That the whole purpose for this question, a lot of graduates will able to relate with this.
Yes, absolutely. Every story is worth being shared, and I'm so glad you asked me to, share my story. So I want to go back to I'm 39 today, so I started working when I was 21, and actually, it's a very relevant question because my own journey has been completely transformational. And now, when I share it with you, you will also find it thoroughly transformational. When I was 17 years old, I was a bright student, if that's what I want to call. My parents will have a different version for it. So I thought that I was fairly good enough academically. And I was a commerce, I taken up commerce in after 10. And there was one thing that I knew, that I could communicate and talk well, because that was the feedback that I got from people, that you speak well, I think you've got good convincing power. So I thought that this is the only skill that I have, and it's my strength. I had numerous weaknesses, but I at least knew what my strength was. I wouldn't say that I was self-aware, but I was self-aware in terms of I was listening to other people's feedback. So after 12th, I decided to do hotel management. For 3 years, I did my hotel management. And when I reached final year, we had a lot of campus interviews happening. And you won't believe what I did during that time was, the first interview that I gave, I failed miserably. In the sense, I couldn't utter a word. And let me remind you, I thought I could communicate well. But when that moment happened, when they asked me questions, I was a good student academically, yet they asked me a very simple question, yet I could not answer. And that's when I realized that maybe the reason why I'm not able to answer it, because I'm taking interview as interrogation and not conversational, or as a way to know myself better. This is when, and this is not me who realized it. My father, he is a retired army officer, and he's, for years he's had that experience with people, and he told me, Archana, the reason why you froze, because you took interview as interrogation. What, where, when, how? You've not committed a murder, and they are not the police interrogating you. It's an interview. It's a journey where they will know you better so that they can hire you, and you will know yourself better so that you become employable or they can hire you. That's when I changed my thought, my perspective towards interview. And there was one more thing that I did. I gave as many interviews as I could, whether I was interested in the job, not interested, whether it fit my profile or it did not fit my profile. Because there's one thing that I realized, that it's only practice that's actually going to make you better at it. It doesn't make you perfect, but you surely get better. And there was a hotel chain that I was very keen on getting a job in. I finally cracked that after good 12 interviews in multiple other organizations. So, the message that I want to give to all the students here who are eventually going to listen to us is, one, change your mindset towards whatever activity you do. So, how I change my mindsets toward interview, you can do that too. And second is, keep practicing till it becomes natural, and also you become better at it. Because it's only, courage is how you begin. So my first interview was all courage oriented, but my second interview, my third interview built my confidence. And that's exactly what most of the people in certain jobs are looking in for, that how confident you are. So yeah, that was my struggle at 21 when I started working. I hope it will help some of the graduates to learn that it's tough for everybody.
Yeah, Archana.
But
So here I'll
just
just
because it's tough for everybody, it doesn't mean you should not do it. Sorry,
yeah,
Upendra.
yeah. So the question, yes, I got it, but I'll go a little deep into. You said that you failed very badly, or you felt very bad, right? Very first incident, and later on you got advice from parents or whoever is your well-wisher. Now, what was your situation? Felt bad, but how you overcome with that? Because
Correct,
this is the
correct.
common thing, right? Means,
Absolutely.
so what exactly that moment? Maybe a day or two. How you handle that?
Correct. So, first thing I'll tell was that I made sure I spoke about it. Because talking about failure sometimes can be the most difficult thing. One feels terrible talking about failures, but remember that unless you talk about it, unless, see, failure is an emotion, a failure is an emotion associated with rejection. Sometimes there's guilt, sometimes there's fear. There could be a lot of other emotion, and if an emotion is not expressed, suppression surely doesn't help. So I went and told my parents that I failed. I did not do well. And I was crying. To be very honest, I was sobbing. I was crying while I was talking to my parents. But it's only while talking about it did my parents give me advice. So, don't hold it personally. Every failure should not be held personally, and remember, it is not permanent. These two things don't happen. No failure is permanent and no failure is permanent or personal. So make sure you talk about it, because unless you talk about it and unless that emotion is out, one, you will not come to know how you're feeling about it, because a suppressed emotion will one day turn into that volcano that will burst for no reason. So talk about it. I'm sure you'll have that one person in your life. You'll have parents who may listen to you. If not parents, then you'll have a friend. If not a friend, then maybe you can go up to teachers or mentors that you have. So I took my parents as my mentors, but I also confided in a teacher of mine who guided me a little more as to how I could give answers better. So talk about it. Just talk about it to somebody. You'll feel better.
Now, I'll just go a little back. What you shared, that you have passed commerce, then you moved to hotel management, and here a lot of graduates coming, sir, मैंने सिविल किया, मैं आईटी में आना चाहता हूँ, पॉसिबल है क्या, लोग क्या कहेंगे, मेरा कोर सेक्टर था सिविल और मैकेनिकल, देयर आर डिफरेंट डिफरेंट थिंग, दे वांटेड टू स्विच. नाउ you did the same thing, commerce, then hotel management, right? Commerce means you should be CA or CAS or kind of that. How it came, and definitely it was not easy. So how you transition, and the same situation graduates or n number of students are there. What advice you'd like to give on that?
Correct, correct. So Upendra, I'm sure you must have heard a lot of people talk about purpose and calling. And let me tell you that that does not happen until you experiment. Today, look where I am. I started in the commerce field. I did hotel management, worked for a hotel for 6+ years, started a training center on outer personality, and today I'm a clinical psychologist. So, for all those who are scared that transformation is going to be difficult, let me tell you that unless you transform, unless you experiment, unless you try, you'll never come to know whether you're good at it or bad at it, or that even if that's the purpose of your life or your own calling. It will never happen while sitting on a chair and thinking about it. You have to take that chance. It's going to be difficult. You'll have doubts. But I want to go back to how I started the conversation. I knew that I had a skill. And I'm not saying it's a talent. I would want to reiterate. I knew कि मेरे में कला है बात करने की. My skill was my communication, be it the way I talk or the way I listen to people. I knew one skill of mine, and everything that I did was revolving around that skill. And today I use communication also as my calling and as my purpose, because the fact that I can communicate has helped me transform where I was to where I am today. So what I would want to suggest all of you is sit down with a piece of paper and divide it and answer this question, that what are my strengths and where are some of the areas I need to work on? Because unless you do this activity, you will never really have a clear cut answer. The day you come to know that you have a skill, and then you really will come to know what you want to do. Don't fear failure, because regret kills you far more than failures. So, not doing something is going to kill you far more than failure. So, go ahead, try it. It's not going to be that bad. But don't regret that decision that काश मैं वो कर लेता या काश मैंने वो option लिया होता. That will kill you far more. than actually, doing it and failing at it.
Wow. So the bottom line, whatever discussion, if I conclude, you have to take action come what may. Just sitting and thinking will not help at all. Whatever is there, better just take pen and paper, write down, and on the base of that, take any one step and just get going. That is the main thing. Now, specifically, even today, after passing out, as I started with saying that few years, like 2 year, what is the common scenario? Let me tell you, specifically BTech, what I came across in last 4 5 years, I'm directly interacting with those graduates. They are passing out, fail to get any job. They are going for higher study, like maybe MSc, MCA, or whatever, master. Again, stuck, and now they are under depression, trying but not. And even a few of them confesses, Upendra or Sir, I was attempted suicide. And this is really very painful. Like means parents have invested lakhs of rupees, right? See the psychology of students, and they fail to crack any job. And parents are our well-wisher. They don't need our money. They want you should be just settled down. Now in this junction, tons of graduates are suffering. I came across many graduates, 4 year, 5 year, BTech graduates passed out back. Parents are bedridden. Just they are earning approx round figure 4 lakh per annum. Such a pathetic situation. So mentally they are really pathetic. What exactly you suggest them to do so that at least that societal or those kind of thing they should be not thinking and getting over with whatever current situation into the next level, maybe financially, maybe mentally, maybe spiritually. Yeah.
Correct, correct. So that's a very relevant question, Upender, because currently, if you, I mean, because I'm from Rajasthan, and the Kota is a hub for all these training, for coaching that happens for the IIT or the NEET exam, and I know how much a student goes through. Second is somehow when they crack the exam, and even when they go into the job interview or they go into the corporate world, they're not able to crack good college or good companies or good corporates, and that takes a toll on them. So, one of the ways that I would suggest all those people, one is please don't suffer in silence. Don't suffer in silence at all. Be it the smallest failure of your life, or at that moment, if you feel it is the biggest failure, please seek help. Speak to somebody. Somebody's words are going to transform you in some way or the other. You don't even know, right? Second is depression is never because of just one reason in life. You can never really say that this is the only reason why you were depressed or this was the only reason why it was depressed, right? So don't go into why is this happening to me, because sometimes when you go too much into the why mindset, that why is this happening, मेरे साथ ही ऐसा क्यों हुआ, मुझे आता था फिर भी मेरा इंटरव्यू मेरा सिलेक्शन क्यों नहीं हुआ, too much of why and Q will also take you in the negative mindset. Start asking yourself what and how. That is going to immediately take you into the action mode. Because if you keep sitting and keep thinking, the brain's job is to think. You can never question why is your brain thinking. But if you leave it idle, it's obviously going to think more, right? And it's just doing its job. It's just that it's doing it in excess, right? So one is seek help. By any chance, if you get a lot of negative thoughts, even if you feel suicidal, what I would suggest is please pen down your thoughts, especially if you're overthinking about it. Now, the reason why I tell everybody to journalize and pen down your thought, one is your mind is at the speed of, say, a bullet train. Whereas writing is a very thoughtful and a slow process. And when you start writing down, your brain has no choice but to pace up to your writing speed. So automatically the speed of your thought reduces, and it's going to bring you into the present. It's going to bring you into your current situation. And the minute you are in your current situation, you will realize that thoughts of ending your life or thoughts of thinking negative are not helping you, and they are not relevant right now, right? So these two things are surely going to help you immediately. Like, it's like you have acidity or antacid ले लेते हो तो कैसे फटाफट ठीक हो जाते हो. So this will give you that immediate thing. Secondly is, please make sure that whenever you feel anxious or you feel you're slipping into extreme negative thoughts, there are three things you should never overlook. One is your physical health. That means you got to eat and drink properly. That should never be ignored. Second is your sleep, which is needed for your cognitive health. Make sure you're sleeping nothing less than 6 hours and not more than 10 hours. This
Okay.
is a healthy bracket. And third is social interactions. Because for you to feel suicidal or feel low about yourself happens only in closed doors and when you're alone. So don't stop talking to people or don't stop interactions. I'm not saying go out in parties and party every night, but continue talking to those people who matter to you, like your parents, one or two good friends. These three things should never be ignored, because once they are ignored, it's very easy for you to slip into depressive thoughts or even suicidal, right? And remember one thing, life is very precious. You don't know how many people who want to live cannot live for some reasons because of some health issues, right? You've been gifted your life. Keep telling yourself, be grateful for every day. Automatically, these negative thoughts will reduce. So, yeah, I mean, these two, three things, if you do, you would not be very, your negative thoughts would reduce. And remember that, your own wound will always look the deepest. मुझे आज चोट लगी है तो मुझे मेरा चोट तो हमेशा बड़ी ही दिखेगी और डीप दिखेगी, दूसरे को छोटी दिखेगी. So when you speak to somebody else, they may tell you, नहीं यार इतनी चोट नहीं लगी है, right? So get out of this zone. Don't make everything about yourself, that मेरे साथ ही ऐसा क्यों हुआ है. It will automatically reduce overthinking, because overthinking is very self-oriented. When you are too self-absorbed, you'll naturally think negative. But the minute you're grateful for things around you, the minute you start thinking outside you, you'll realize that every life is important, and how minuscule your problems could be that you're making it in majority, but it could be a tiny little thing. So it's all about changing your mindset.
Really, it's a great information, at least for me also. So related that one more, I came across one situation. So what exactly, as a layman, basically, though I'm interacting with graduates, hundreds of graduates, so is there any symptom you can suggest? Okay, these are the symptoms you are going towards depression. As per your, as a layman, if you can just share about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Upendra. Thank you. That's a very relevant question, because कभी कभार बच्चों को पता ही नहीं चलता है कि वो एक मेंटल हेल्थ इशू से गुजर रहे हैं.
True.
So first things first, you will stop enjoying those things that you used to. This will always be there. Giving an example, that you loved writing, like it must have happened. Engineering students are very creative students. They could be into guitar, they could be dancing, they were into poems, and then one fine day they stop enjoying it. If that happens, it's a warning sign. Second is the sleep bracket that I mentioned. That if you're sleeping less than 6 hours and more than 10 hours, then again, it could be a sign that you must speak to people, right? And the last sign, again, very obvious. If you start avoiding people, if you if you don't like talking to people, you want to be alone all the time, you fear conversations, you fear communication, then these are symptoms. These three symptoms will give you an idea that you are slipping into something which otherwise is not very normal to the human mind. So yeah, you got to be careful on these three aspects.
Okay, and again, somebody just under depression. Okay, and when we are talking to him, just giving suggestion. Okay, you can go for psychiatrist. Right? क्यों मैं पागल हूं क्या? So ultimately, how to deal with this situation? How, as a suppose as a family member, suppose somebody, maybe this is relative, somebody in family suffering from these kind of situation, taking them into clinic is very tough. Any suggestion in which way? Anything you can guide us?
Absolutely. Again, you're asking me such good questions. Thank you, Upendra. I mean, I think you yourself have become half a psychologist because you exactly know what to ask. So, actually, this is very true that, people who go through mental health issues will always be in a denial. They don't want to accept that they are going through something like that. Now, we as family members, or we as friends, or we as somebody who just cares about that person, you know, we always begin with giving suggestions. We always begin with, अच्छा तुम्हें ये हो रहा है, तुम ये क्यों नहीं ट्राई करते, अरे ये हो रहा है, सुबह 5 बजे उठ के तो देखो, which is very typically parents, they say getting up early solves all problems. We end up giving a lot of advices. So if you know that a friend of yours or a family member of yours is going through any issues, it could be mentally, emotionally also they could be going something, they get extremely aggressive, they're constantly in a denial. First is, please ask them how are they feeling. Please ask them questions not like why are they feeling. Ask them how are they feeling. When did they start feeling like this? Later on, you may ask why. So, what happens is that person will develop trust in you, that you genuinely care. Otherwise, when you tell that person, नहीं नहीं अरे तुम में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, चलो हम साइकियाट्रिस्ट या साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास जाते, that person is already tired of judgments and is why that person is avoiding, and you also put them in the same judgment mind frame that तुम्हारे साथ कुछ हुआ है and इसलिए हमें तुम्हें कहीं लेकर जाना है. it, it's not a helpful approach. So by simple questions like how are you feeling, when did you start feeling like this, what triggered it, and why do you think this is happening? Once you start asking these questions, the person does not feel judged, the person feels cared about. And once the person feels cared, and then when you tell them that, see, I don't think मैं इससे ज़्यादा तुम्हारी मदद कर सकता हूँ, and that's why I feel you should meet somebody who's professional. That person will understand you and will respect your thought or your advice. So maybe this is how you can approach and help that friend of yours seek professional help, because it's not your job to help them.
Yeah.
You see, like, for example, for a certain disease you need to go to a doctor. Similarly, if you have a mental health issue, you can always reach out to a psychologist or a psychiatrist for it.
Wow, that is really helpful input, whatever you gave. So simple way. Now, just moving into a little bit next, and again, I'll ask you first your own journey. As you mentioned, hotel means first BCom, then that hotel management, then suddenly. So, whatever you are, suppose somebody is watching us right now and somebody wants some help. So, which all are the area you can help them if you can share little details?
Oh, absolutely. So, because I'm also an inner personality enhancement trainer, I help individuals with something as simple as habit building, because it begins with giving an example that if you have unhealthy habits, you'll have an unhealthy mindset, and that's going to impact your performance. Right? When it comes to educational institutions, especially B schools or engineering colleges, I help them from college to college or campus to corporate, or college to company. So in that, I help them, how to develop their speaking in public abilities. See, it's not always about public speaking. Not everybody becomes a motivational speaker, but at least you should have the confidence to speak in front of 7 8 people. So building the ability to speak in public. I don't like using the word cracking interviews, but I like to use the word excelling in interviews. And by excelling, I don't mean that every interview you give, you're going to clear all, but the interview that you give, you're going to excel and give your best. So So it's not, I help you change your mindset that interviews is not a journey of interrogation, it's a journey of self awareness. How many times have you sat down and asked yourself this question, what are your strengths? That only happens in an interview. How many times have you really asked yourself that, why should you employ me? So it's such a wonderful journey of self awareness. And when you enjoy the journey, then the result will always be wonderful. So this is with educational institutions. When it comes to corporates, I'm also certified in emotional intelligence. So when it comes to especially companies and corporates, I conduct workshops which is called Torque Your EQ, which is, increase your emotional intelligence. It begins with self-awareness, but it goes a lot into developing social skills, being empathetic. Empathy is one skill that you need to develop once you start working, once you start leading a team, or in general, when you're in a team, or even self control. How do you motivate yourself and, most importantly, be resilient? Because let's all be honest that every time we're working with people or even working alone, we are going to have failures. So it is, see, motivation begins, helps you start something. It is the beginning journey, but it is resilience that helps you stay longer in it. So how do you become more resilient? And it's always the ones who are more resilient are the ones who excel in life. So this is for corporates and individually as well. If somebody is going through a lot of anxiety, like, just the fact that they've started avoiding things, they've developed phobias, because I'm also into clinical psychology. Since I am a clinical psychologist, I also deal with slightly severe mental health issues like bipolar, somebody who has OCD, obsessive compulsive disorders, and even eating disorders. So these are slightly extreme versions of mental health issues. But if you're going through anxiety or an anxiety disorder, you can always get in touch with me. And last is, there are also times wherein people have come to me only just because they wanted to talk about an issue. And I've just helped them understand that how a certain mindset or a cognitive distortion was actually a barrier for them. So, something as simple as that, like a lot of times, like in today's world, Upendra, you must have heard perfection is considered to be a strength. But perfection is actually a flaw in psychology because it'll make you a procrastinator. And procrastinator is the biggest enemy today. So, helping you understand that perfection not doesn't take you ahead, but it is progress that takes you ahead. So help you change your mindset as well.
Wow. So really so
So I'm
insightful.
into diversity.
Yeah. So really, it's in one place so many means it's full of bucket of so many wisdom of, you can say it's a real needed thing nowadays, at least anybody can pick, and it's really needed now. Coming to next part, and next part is you spoke about your parents, your mentor. So, what exactly advice you would like to give to our audience? The importance of mentor in anybody or everybody's life. Maybe it's a career, maybe in any way. So, your experience on that, your advice on that.
Absolutely. So I would tell them that the best is advice that I got was that if I change my mindset, I change my life. Simple. So this was the simplest advice that I got from my father. That he told me that, Archana, the way you look at things, if that changes, life changes for you. I know it is one of those cliched advices that people say, "Arey, nazariya badlo, dunya badlo," but it is a fact. Some of the simplest advices make all the difference, right? The second, though I have had multiple mentors and all of them have given me some great advices, but what I like to what I always like and I always believe and I always practice is that only if you're self aware, that will lead to acceptance and that will lead to transformation. Like your tagline says, stories that transform career. Transformation only begins if you're aware. That would lead to acceptance, and only acceptance leads to change and transformation. So you have to believe that. So with every student who's listening to us or who will eventually listen to us, please be a little more self-aware. Try and understand what are your strengths, what is important to you, what are your values, what is that you hold important in your life. The day you accept that is when you are going to transform. Like a lot of students I see, because we are not self-aware, we end up copying anybody we see, or anybody we think has a better life. But we don't know the struggle. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole thing behind that we don't see. So try and be self-aware. And the last one that I think that every graduate must understand, that your purpose and your calling can only come through experimenting. You cannot just do one thing and feel that this is what I'm good at. So go out there, make mistakes, right? Don't think making mistakes is going to make you stupid. It's only going to make you more experienced. And the more experienced you are, the more people will hire you and come up to you, right? So the reason why we as coaches, trainers, and psychologists always highlight the number of years we have experience is because of this, because it's experience which has taught us more than actual education that we got in our respective fields. So never miss out an experience of life, and it could be personal, it could be professional, it could be social. Don't ever run away from it, and go out there, make mistakes.
Oh, great. Now, we are just coming at last phase of our show, and what exactly means couple of book, one, two book, that book transforms or just give different level of experience, Archana. So those books, if you want to share with our audience, they
Correct.
may go through
Thank
and
you. Thank you. So one is, I want to say my own book has been extremely helpful.
definitely we can
And
just
that is
yeah.
so that is obviously advertising myself, but I wouldn't want to say it is my book. In fact, when I read so many other wonderful authors, is when I could think about becoming an author myself.
Mhm.
So I think, as a psychology student, one book which I began reading was Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. He's the father of emotional intelligence. So that was a book that actually helped me know myself better. It speaks a lot about self awareness, and all of us are we are emotional beings, and we are constantly suppressing emotions. And we've tagged emotions into good emotions and bad emotions. In fact, we make fun of people. Emotions is used as fun. Arey, she's an emotional fool. Don't be so emotional. Be practical. But that's, after reading that book, you will realize that how important it is to express emotions in a controllable fashion. So that was one book that has really kind of helped me look at life from a different perspective. The other book, because I work a lot with mindset, I help people understand that how their own beliefs and values actually is a hindrance in their own growth. So there is a book that I want to recommend. It is called Predictably Irrational, and the author, I think, is Dan Ariely. I keep forgetting the name. So, Predictably Irrational is a wonderful book which will help you understand that how sometimes our own beliefs and thoughts play with us and they stop us from growing. So that is a book. So giving a simple example that I gave of perfection, like, we always feel we got to be perfect, but perfection delays our work because we're never satisfied, right? And we procrastinate. So it could also be something as simple as, there are a lot of cognitive distortion. Like, sometimes we are mind readers. We think, okay, Upendra right now is not nodding. Maybe he's not listening to me. And then, then I'll be like, no, Upendra doesn't think good about me. So how our mind plays with us, once you understand that, you can change that. And a book that I want to recommend to all those people who are currently working, it's called Upstream: How to Solve Problems Before They Happen. I cannot recollect the author's name, but it's called Upstream. And like the name suggests, it's about, like, especially in the corporate world and in companies, I've realized that firefighting is given more importance than preventing fire. हम आग बुझाने जाते हैं, and we take full pride कि हमने आग बुझा दी, पर वी डोंट टेक प्राइड इन द फैक्ट दैट हमने आग को रोक दिया या आग को प्रिवेंट किया. So the book is for all those who want to get into the corporate world and learn how to solve problems even before they happen. So these are three books that have worked wonders for me, and I'm sure it will help the ones who listen to us.
Yes, definitely. It's a, thank you so much, Archana, for your time. And at least I got a lot of clarity related to this dealing with the emotion and how we can just help if somebody really suffering in different level of mental health. At least being a non-technical person on that area, at least we can just help at least 1-2% to go or just to get them out from that zone. So that's all for now to each and everyone. And yes, as usual, we will be just meeting soon with another wonderful guest, and we are going to share our own experiences. And on that way, the whole purpose here is to give you guys a little bit of guidance how to go into the next level. Maybe it's a technical, maybe it's a non-technical. So thank you so much, Achana.
Thank you. Thank you